Episode 3 The Iron Invasion. It seemed the shooting would go on forever. Juno had moved from her corner of the cafe for the past hour, curled into a ball so tight that every muscle and joint in her body whined in agony. Her head was bleeding, and glass chips clung to her hair. In her arms was a sobbing child of about 5 years, his mother shot to ribbons 2 blocks away. 3 other people were huddled in various nooks and crannies around the cafe, too scared to utter a sound. Just outside, bedlam was still sweeping down the street. All the gunfire and screams had melted together into unholy white noise, along with the inhuman hum of the robotic drone rolling across the city, targeting and shooting anything that moved. The streets were paved with civilian corpses. As suddenly as it began, the chaos fell into silence. The city gendarmes must have finally taken the metal monster out. Through the ringing in her ears, Juno heard the shaking voices of law enforcement shouting orders, calling for paramedics, warning each other not to touch the drone. The rest of the afternoon was a blur. Uneasy life returned to the city as people came to move the bodies and try to make sense of the wanton attack. Sobs, moans, and bewildered questions joined the somber song of the growing wind. Juno was on autopilot, having retreated into a trance where all her senses were on high alert, waiting for the next attack. Someone removed the sleeping boy from her arms. It was like pulling a drain plug. The moment it was taken away, all her strength flooded out, and she fell unconscious. Juno imagined a loud fanfare when Deputy Freya Heimdall entered her hospital room. She traveled everywhere without an escort, too proud and war-seasoned to heed her wary security force. "The coroner requires your presence," said Heimdall, appraising the tiny stitches on Juno's brow. "Hope you can walk." Juno didn't argue. She tied her boots and grabbed her coat on the way out the door, following her commander up the streets where the snow was still pink from innocent blood. Juno's face was stoic, but her eye betrayed the maelstrom of worry behind it. "Is it the boy?" she said. Heimdall sighed. "No, thank God. Physically, he's fine, but mentally, after an event like that..." She cursed under her breath and thought of her bleeding city as she led the one-eyed soldier into the mortuary, but the coroner was still vomiting into the trash bin. She spat twice and said nothing, merely gesturing for both women to follow her into the morgue. In one piece, the drone looked like an oversized toy tank with 3 stubby arms, each ending in a frightening piece of ordnance. In its current state, it was a pile of charged slag oozing hideous black and red ichor from its chassis. It was no bigger than a wheelbarrow, and yet it had killed and maimed close to 100 people in the span of a half hour. "Where the hell did it come from?" said Juno. "Supposedly airdropped by an unmarked plane," said Heimdall. "The bastard kicked on the moment it landed, opened fire on the first person it saw. Took 2 RPGs to slag it." Juno couldn't take her eyes off the thick, noxious substance leaking out of the broken drone. The stench was assaulting her with battlefield flashbacks. "Why did you request me?" she said. "Why did they take it to the morgue anyway?" Heimdall's face was grim. She gestured to the coroner, who choked back her bile and popped open the drone's chassis for the 3rd time that day. Inside, installed like just another mechanical part, plain as day amid all the wires, gadgets, and plastic tubing, was a human head. Even among the absurdly large men of Jotunheim, Baron Frostguard of Nifl was a mythical giant. His head nearly touched the ceiling as he stood before Admiral Jair's desk, his life and career flashing before his eyes as he waited in tense silence. Jair stood at his window, hands behind his back, watching ships pull into the port. The giant Frostguard stroked his snowy white goatee and anxiously waited. Jair turned at last, and Frostguard saw that his eyes were hot and red from the hurricane brewing behind him. Frostguard had retired from the Navy as a hero, and taken over the failed drone project as a favor to the desperate Admiral Jair. The next 2 months were a dismal failure and embarrassment, despite Frostguard's sterling record as a leader and engineer, the same reputation that had earned him his castle in Nifl. He should have been banished to the wasteland like all who disgraced the Jotun banner, but Admiral Jair cut the giants some slack due to their familial ties. Desperate for the project to succeed, Frostguard had recruited the Midgard stepchildren and the remaining Einherjar dogs in the hope of replacing the faulty robotic brains with cybernetic ones. The late Dr. Gore's methods were savage and downright despicable, but they saved the drone project, and to that end, Baron Frostguard's ass. Until the impromptu drone attack on Midgard, that is. The giant cub. Sir, I can Admiral Yer slammed his fist into the desktop. How could you make such an idiotic mistake? Sending the prototype to Midgard for a live test with our treaty as shaken as it is? For God's sake, we still import medicine from Midgard for radiation sickness. Have you lost your mind? It's the Midgard woman, sir. She believes Midgard's armed force is superior to ours and better suited to field tests. She also thinks the Jotun's Navy bureaucratic process mucks up the works, which I happen to agree with. But either way, the bitch acted without consulting me. The fist hit the desk again. That's no excuse. You are responsible for the conduct of your people, just like a captain is responsible for the conduct of his crew. Frostguard clenched his teeth. I'm not in the Navy anymore, Uncle. You asked for my help. Yer gestured behind him to the Jotun banner, a horn helmet looming over a blood-red crescent moon. You swore an oath when you enlisted, Bard. You belong to me and it to His Eminence, until death. Screw up again, I'll strip you of your medals and your title and throw you to the wolf dogs. Yer sat wearily at his desk, rubbing his temples. Who is this Midgard woman you're working with? What did you have to involve her? Major Bowie, sir. She runs that regiment of crazy southerners. They smuggle the Einherjar materials into the country for us. Yer hissed. I was said a woman in uniform would be the doom of this nation. Liquidate her before she causes any further trouble. Frostguard looked at his boots. We can't, sir. She encrypted the files and we can't access them without her. She's a lunatic, but she's smart. That makes one of you. Yer pointed a pistol-like finger at Frostguard. We're both damn lucky that the Commander-in-Chief was impressed with your idiotic stunt, that he didn't cancel the project, and us along with it. Double your efforts, and get the invasion force completed and tested before the disarmament conference. I don't care how you do it, but keep that Midgard bitch in line. Jotun workers threw themselves against the wall to get out of Ruth Bowie's way. She marched down the hallway, a heavily armed stepchild marching on either side of her. The red-headed major was as big as the average Jotun man, and looked twice as mean thanks to the bayonet scar across her left eye. As an army major, she was not accustomed to claustrophobic life at sea, and she made this known to the crew with her fists, boots, insults, and occasionally airborne cigarettes. She was a mere child in the presence of the colossal Baron Frostguard. The moment she entered the interrogation room, the giant sea dog lifted her 3 feet off the ground and pinned her against the wall with a thud that rocked the ship from bow to stern. Bowie's escorts pressed their shotguns into the beastly man's neck, but he didn't seem to notice. You'll doom us with your stupidity, you Midgard whore! He boomed. The young woman bound to a chair in the middle of the room was too fair to be a Jotun. She was probably very pretty once, before Kestrel the vampire dog had started on her. Now she was pale, thin, and dripped in a thick layer of sweat. She had been stripped down to her underwear, her face and lap caked in dried blood and bone. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and her eyes were popping out of their sockets as they stared blindly at the ceiling. All humanity had gone out of them, leaving behind something hideous and animal-like. Beside the doctor was an instrument cart that included scalpels, syringes, ominous jars, and bottles, something resembling an ice pick, and a car battery and jumper cables. She had gone to work on the girl like a stubborn automobile. The doctor asked her a question in Jotun. Her voice was deceptively soothing. The young woman grimaced, mumbled, blubbered a reply in the same language while shaking her head pleadingly. I thought Jotunheim was a man's world, said Bowie with a chuckle, still held in Frostguard's hands like a doll. That usually means the boys know how to treat a lady. They all could benefit from a less barbaric touch. Frostguard grit his teeth. Jotun women don't live in kennels like your Midgard men do. Don't speak to me of barbarism. The hulking Baron released Bowie and forgot about her for a moment, returning to the interrogation. Kestrel sighed irritably. She said in Jotun. They identified the explosives as Jotun in origin. Bowie unbuttoned her collar. What'd she say? Frostguard glared at her. The bitch is a spy. Bowie rolled her eye. That much I heard from your boys already. She was sent to check up on the explosives you carelessly installed on the test model. There's a reason we were using imported parts only, idiot. He turned back to Kestrel. What does she know? Kestrel smiled sadly. Enough. Has she been in contact with her people? She swears to God she has, and that Midgard's retribution will be swift and terrible. But for all her theatrics, her heart just isn't in it. I'm confident she has not yet told anyone, and her secrets will die with her. Poor Bowie lit a cigarette. Anytime you big bad giants feel like letting me in the conversation, go right ahead. Baron Frostguard drew a giant revolver from his belt holster. He pressed the barrel to the pleading spy's head and vaporized it in a cloud of blood and brain matter. The doctor and I just came to an agreement, he said. Careless fool, said Kestrel. Midgard will send others to check in on her. Bowie flicked her cigarette, pancaked it up Kestrel's bosom. I'm tired of being out of the loop all the time. Tell this vampire she better start speaking so I can understand her from now on. She glared at the doctor. And I know she can do it. Yeah, you understand every word I'm saying, don't you, asshole? Kestrel smiled pleasantly. When this operation is over, I will release your dead. Bowie played at the doctor. Now what's she saying? Frostguard stepped between the two women. She says to try cleaning up your own messes for once. Make sure the spy's body is found at the scene of a train crash. They're not uncommon in these mountains. Bowie crossed her arms. What am I, your meat howl wench? Don't forget you don't got no Project Einherjar without my codes. Frostguard unclogged his nose at her feet. You're in this country illegally with dangerous contraband. Don't forget I'm keeping the authorities off your ungrateful back. Your peasant MPs don't scare me. Even in your backwards homeland, people fear my name. Bowie gestured to her face and added, They see this pretty puss of mine and run for the hills. Frostguard scoffed, probably because they mistake you for some other one-eyed lunatic. Maybe this Radcliffe woman I keep hearing about lately, the one that keeps shutting down Einherjar project every time a new one opens shop. Kestrel muttered a string of Jotun curses and a verbal monument of names belonging to her deceased proteges. Bowie scratched her cheek. Radcliffe's got balls and luck and shit else. I served with that little twat, and it nearly got me drummed out of the army. Ever since Cole asked for my help, she's made a habit of arranging mass funerals for the girls in my unit. The stepchildren used to be the most feared division in Midgard. Bowie kicked over Kestrel's instrument cart, spilling syringes and tools all over the floor. I'm having a dozen of my own girls shot each week for deserting at the mere mention of the Radcliffe name. If your little stunt brings Midgard to my doorstep, said Frostguard, you can pile all of that under least of your goddamn problems. Bowie chuckled. She drew her pistol and idly spun it like a professional gunfighter. Fast and slow, horizontally, diagonally, vertically, like an extension of her body. She holstered the weapon with one quick, fluid motion. I hope Midgard comes a-knockin', she said. I hope to God it's Juno Radcliffe they sent for us. When me and her lock horns, I'll pluck out her good eye and take it as my own. That ordnance is produced at the factory in Fjord, Heimdall had said, a military-occupied city in Nifel. One of my girls had been sniffing around those parts, but she's late getting back to me. Rendezvous with her and lend your insight. If this really is Project Einherjar rekindling itself, I want it stamped out. Juno reviewed her instructions as she stepped off the ship in Warm Port in Jotunheim. She processed her papers quickly and boarded the first train to Fjord. On her way to the platform, she passed a mean-looking red-headed woman, unusually small for a Jotun, reading a news pamphlet as she leaned against a light post with a cigarette burning between her lips. She glanced up at Juno. Juno nodded. The woman looked back at her paper. As soon as Juno boarded the train, the woman tossed her cigarette and stepped into a phone booth, rapidly dialing a number and asking from Major Bowie. This is Tess, Major, she said, watching the train prepare to depart. You're not gonna believe who just showed up in Jotunheim. Mission 3, the Iron Invasion. Objective, travel to Castle Frostguard in Jotunheim and destroy the Jotuns' new Einherjar army before it is delivered to the invasion site. Baron Frostguard and Dr. Kestrel and Major Bowie. Additional orders, liquidate the project's founder, Baron Frostguard, and his associates to prevent further Jotun treachery. And well, with that, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Project Einherjar. Previously, we fought through the Golheim Hit and deep into White Hell, defeating a lot of nasty people, from the villainous Dr. Gold to the forgettable Vade and Rourke, because apparently it took me reading this help page to remember their names. Either way, the Iron Invasion is next, and I've been stalling long enough. I think it's time we start immediately. I'm Peasant Queen, like always. Oh dear. Immediately starting off with a good gunfight, eh? Also you. No. Settle down now. Settle down. Oh, goodness me, already starting off with a bang. Dear me. Wait, did I shoot this guy? Oh, those gals. Uh-oh. Okay, good. Careful. You have your arms up, so I'm not gonna shoot, don't worry. No, not you, Huck, though. Commanders and officers are absolutely no-go. You're better off just pulling a pistol from your holster and trying your luck. Because, nah, you're not surviving my wrath. Anyways, don't forget to save. It really has been a while, huh? PE3, yeah, okay. Goody. Certainly has been a while. Been kinda stuck with the edge of time, but now here we are, back again in Jotunheim. In old Midgard and so forth and so on. Norse mythology and the usual human experimentation, torture and evil and so forth. Hi there. Okay. Careful. Oh, dear, sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Oh wait, you're a bad guy, aren't you? Hold on. Yes, you are. You're a bad guy. Suddenly got reminded about Imp2's little comment about civilians don't count towards the kill count. Only people with genuinely terrible intentions do. Thank you. Let's see, what do I have? Let's see. Nah, just can't open this. Really now? Can't open this. Okay. Onwards then.